Stop, check in, monitor right now what is going on in you. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? What are the images that you're entertaining right now? What's your overall attitude? What's going on right now in you? Doing this, monitoring ourselves this way, pausing here and there through the course of our day, gives us a chance to see what state we're in and from there what we're likely creating. We've talked so much in various podcasts about how to upgrade our state to make the very best use of all that we've learned, all that we have covered in these various podcasts. It is helpful to notice what we have going on in any given time. If we're in the process of studying and we have something in us going, I'll never get this, or this is too hard, or something that's feeling negative or feeling discouraged, or we have images of failure in mind, or we are seeing what we're studying as being really big and way above us, some of those kinds of things, it is really helpful to notice and to be able to then apply what we have already done to change the self-talk, to change the imagery, to change the beliefs so that we're coming from the right space so that we can get the outcomes we want. If we are at work and we're in some kind of poor space, some kind of negative space, of course it's going to affect our outcomes. But if we never notice, we never have a choice. If we don't stop, if we don't go, okay, what's going on in me right now? How are we going to know why we're getting the outcomes we're getting? If we're at work or if we're at school and our outcomes are at 50%, there's a good chance that our internal state is also at 50%. If we're driving our car and the warning lights are flashing and it's almost out of gas and we haven't changed the oil and we haven't tuned it up in all those kinds of parallels, of course we wouldn't expect our car to run the best. We wouldn't expect the best outcome from it. The same goes for us. If we're driving our car and we're not paying attention to the flashing lights and all the rest, it's not going to change. The same with us. So that's why we're encouraging. Let's just build in the habit of reflecting on ourselves, of pausing, of noticing, of taking stock of where we are, and then doing something about it. If we check in with ourselves and we find that we're angry, we can understand why we might not be getting the best results. Or if we check in and we're afraid, and everywhere we look, we see things to be anxious about, again, that's going to shut us down. It's going to undermine the outcomes we want. If our self-talk is terrible, we know what to expect from that. This moment, each moment, is our personal point to create our life, to create our experience. It's our moment of power. This is the only time right now, and in whatever moment you're doing this, this is the only moment that we can impact our life. All the others are hypothetical. The past is gone. We can tie our attention up with regret and judgment and, oh, I wish I hadn't done that and I should have done this other thing, or even I'm so glad I did that thing. All that is gone. And the future, who knows? Hopefully it'll go well. Now is where we get to create that from. So let's check. Let's make a habit of just observing. This doesn't mean that we have to be watching ourselves all the time. That doesn't work all that well either. I'm reminded of an actress that we worked with, and she had been a brilliant actress, and all of a sudden she couldn't act to save her life. And she came in and couldn't understand what had happened. Nobody understood what had happened. And we happened to ask her if she had been trying anything new lately or been exposed to any new approach to acting. And she's like, oh, yeah, I did this thing on self-critique, and it was so good. It was so helpful. And immediately we asked, well, do you only do it at the end of the performance? And she got this look on her face, and it was like, no, I actually am doing it all the time. So that put her, in a sense, outside of herself, constantly watching herself, constantly critiquing. Who could perform that way? That's just another version of being hard on ourselves. We want to notice, are we doing that right now? Sometimes people are doing all the right things right now. They're saying the right things to themselves. Their emotions are in a good place. But when they look out into the future, there's not much there. They are not really seeing the goals. They're not really clearly seeing the outcomes they want. They haven't even stepped into those. So their brain doesn't know where to go. The reticular activating formation isn't giving them the kind of filtering of, here's the things we need to pay attention to get to that goal. Their attention's all over the place because they haven't set a clear outcome. Check and make sure, is that clear outcome in front of you? Is it easily seen? We've had people that we've talked to where their goals were clear, but when they actually checked to see where they saw them in their visual field, it was way off to the side, and they couldn't even see them as they went forward. And their view was, well, I didn't want it to be in the way of what I'm dealing with. There are ways to have our future right out in front of us, just past what we're currently doing, so that we can see the target. We can see what we're aiming for. We can have both our current moment in front of us and the future that we're going for even further out in front of us, and make those work easily. So again, this is so important. Check in, see what's going on. Sometimes people will tell us, well, I don't remember. How do I remind myself? Set an alarm. Have it go off every hour, every half hour, whatever works well for you, as your little reminder of, oh yeah, it's time. In some ways, it's like a little surprise, so there's nothing anticipating it and trying to have the right state. We get to get a pure, clear view of, this is what we do inside. This is what's going on right now. This is what is determining how I'm engaging in my life right now. And again, how I'm engaging in my life right now is going to determine the outcomes I get in my life. This is your chance to create, in some senses, at the highest level in this moment. We humans are meaning makers, and the stuff that we're holding in our head right now, all the stuff we've been talking about, is the meaning that we're making currently about our life. It's the lens that we look at the world through. It is what we see, and through that, it is what we create. This is our chance to choose. This is what's going on behind the scenes that creates our life. Paying attention now gives us a chance to give our mind a makeover, and this lets us direct and create our lives in the way that we want. Give it a go. It's worth the small time that it takes.